I'll talk about JADs in a second.
Oh.
Should register that. Okay, here's the manifest file. As you can see, it tells which CLDC version we're using and which MIDP version we're using. If the phone does not support those versions, it won't let you install the midlet, which I found out because my phone supports MIDP 2.0, but only CLDC 1.0, not 1.1, which is the current newest version, which I thought was pretty weird because it's been out for a long time. You've got the midlet name, which is the name that your phone will give to the application. You've got this midlet identifier, which has three parts. There's the name of the midlet, which is the same as this, and then in the middle here is the URL that's based on the jar to the, I guess it's URI is what they call it in Java, to the icon, which is a picture file, so your phone knows what to display for the application. Nokia's got a default picture, which is little building blocks, and all of your phone's going to have a default picture, but if you want to have a custom icon, you can put it right there. And then the name of the midlet, the fully qualified class path, right there, T3 midlet, and the version. You have a question? Go ahead.
Yeah, what happens if you have more than one midlet?
If you have more than one midlet, I actually didn't play around with that too much, but I assume it just goes
Midlet 2 on there.
Midlet 2. I can't modify this. But yeah, it would just be midlet-2 and then the name of the second midlet. Ryan's right. I'm pretty sure that's how it is, but I haven't tested it because I didn't have time to create a midlet suite, just the one. So now I'm going to talk about JAD files, which are not necessarily required, as I found out with my Nokia software, but they are definitely part of how the toolkit builds the jar. It creates that manifest based on some stuff that's in the JAD file. And I'll go back to my presentation real quick. Talk about the JAD. It's basically just an application descriptor for a midlet application. It's got a lot of the same fields that are in the manifest of the jar. One of the extra fields that it has is the URL to the jar. How you would normally deploy a J2ME application would be you have a website basically, and the website has a link to this JAD file. And the JAD file will be opened by your cell phone, and it would use the URL to find the jar that it's going to find. It's also got the jar size, and the jar size has to be correct, or the jar can't install. This is because size constraints on a phone, and the phone won't even try to download the jar if it knows it doesn't have enough size. So I'll show you the tic-tac-toe JAD, and then I'll show you a close-me's. What am I trying to say? They've got a pretty sweet little editor for JAD files. So here's my JAD file for my tic-tac-toe jar. Gotta register that too. As you can see, we've got the same stuff that we had in the manifest file. We do have something new here, which is the size in bytes of the jar file. The name of the jar file, this is the URL, but since the JAD is located in the same directory, the URLs, it doesn't have any path. The name of the midlet, the midlet vendor, which you can see when you install the midlet on your phone. It'll let you view the details, which is basically a pretty way of looking at the JAD before you actually say you're going to install that application. Midlet version, which was on the manifest as well, and then the CLDC and MIDP versions, which are required so your phone knows if it can install this application or not. I found that when I had CLDC 1.1, my Nokia didn't even try to install the application. Okay.
Does it tell you anything when it determines it can't install?
No, it doesn't say too new of a CLDC or MIDP, it just says it can't install it, which is kind of frustrating. So yeah, if you try to go to a website and you download a jar file or a JAD file with a jar and it doesn't, and it's not able to install, you just kind of have to try a different one because your phone's not going to help you fix it. Let's see.
Do you have any kind of logging mechanism?
In the phone? No. It just tries and fails as many times. Okay, and I'm going to talk a little bit about Sun's Wireless Toolkit. Basically, it's got everything you need to create J2ME applications. You do need, it's got almost everything you need. You do need the regular Java C, but you don't use regular what? You don't use the regular Java core language stuff. So I didn't do the manual way, which is compile, and there's a class path there's a argument that you pass to Java C that makes it use only the jar files from J2ME and not the core Java lang jar files. Kind of butchered that, but it makes sense. It comes with the documentation for all the libraries, or most of the libraries. The rest are on their website, which I thought was kind of weird. It's just kind of random. It's got the Bluetooth documentation and the MIDP documentation, but it doesn't have the CLDC documentation. It comes with K-Toolbar, which is their way of making it easy to create a midlet application, which I'll show you in a sec. It comes with sample midlets with source code that basically shows you pretty much everything that you can do in the mobile profile jar. It comes with pictures and icons that you can use. If you want an icon for when you install your midlet on the phone, it's got some sample icons. Also, it uses those icons in the test midlet programs, which I can show you a few of. So I just want to show you real quick. In the binary directory, we've got the emulator, we've got K-Toolbar, which is what you would normally use to create. If you don't have Eclipse Me, you would use this. What's that?
HSR pitch 228.
What? I just ran this. Oh, sweet. That means nothing to me.
Maybe it doesn't have enough resolution or something.
That is entirely possible. Yeah, that's no good. It comes with the pre-verification binaries that you would call, so you would run on your class files to pre-verify them. I was going to show some of the shortcomings of the K-Toolbar application.
There's one.
There's that one, and there's another one which is more of a deal breaker for me. It requires you to put all the applications you're working on in the apps directory. As you can see here, I created one for Tic-Tac-Toe, and you have to use this package structure. It puts you have to put all your source file in here, or Gaussian Mobile. I've got all my class or all my Java files there. In the bin directory, it creates the JAD and the jar for you. And if you run the JAD on the emulator, hopefully the emulator works. Nope. Apparently the emulator requires more than 640 by 480 as well, which I'm very sad about because I can't show you the application now.
Just hold your phone up in there.
Yeah, I can actually.
Pass it around.
I will pass my phone around running the application.
There was something. Mine actually let me make a bigger resolution and hand off the screen and everything.
Every time I try to change the resolution, it is failed. I don't want to try. I don't want to do that because then I can't even show you my last 5 slides. But I will show you the tic-tac-toe application. Basically, 1 through 9 are the tic-tac-toe locations. It goes, it alternates between X's and O's, as tic-tac-toe tends to do. You can hit 0 to reset the game, either after a win or in the middle of the game. It'll just reset the board, and you can start over with X. There's options which were built by the application management software. I've got reset, help, and exit, and only reset and exit are implemented. Help just doesn't do anything. It doesn't fail. But there's also the close command, which was created by the application management software, and I didn't create it at all. But it does the same thing as exit. Also, you can hit the star key to switch back and forth between full screen and non-full screen mode, so you guys can play with that a little bit. So I guess just pass it around, play around. Yes?
Eric, did you guys put the JAD out there on the OKCJug website?
I
can
can.
actually download it.
I can. I'll get with Brian, maybe, see if we can do that. It may... I don't think it needs any tweaking. It should be ready to go. Yeah, but
it's not like lock up our phone, right?
Probably not. I don't know. Actually, I didn't have time to test this out. But normally, when you install something over the internet or through the mall that your cell phone probably has built into it, the singular mall, that's what mine's got in. The applications are all signed by your wireless service provider. You can sign jars with the wireless toolkit, but they're not real signatures. You'd have to, if you were actually deploying an application, you'd have to get an application, I don't know if it's an approving authority, to actually sign your jar. You send them a signing request, and they sign your jar and send it back to you. I just very briefly glossed over that when I was reading on the web because I didn't think it was super interesting.
How do I get this to go full screen?
Star.
Can your code tell if it has generated an extra command for you so that you would maybe not add your exit command?
I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, normally you've got a list of commands and you can clear out the commands. Actually, on the commands for a midlet, it does automatically add the close command, but when I was reading the documentation, it doesn't say it does it for a campus. So it may, and also, I didn't think that it was supposed to do that because it was only on my phone and not on Sun's emulator, because that close doesn't show up on Sun's emulator. When it was talking about commands that you add to a midlet, it said if you can't explicitly remove them all. There's always, the close command is always there. Or I think the default is actually exit, not close. And if you add one, it will remove the implicit command. But you can never have no commands on a midlet. It always has at least one.
You mentioned that you're going to get a security violation if you try to start up a midlet outside of one of these application managers. How would you do unit testing against a midlet then? Say in the Eclipse environment.
Well, what I noticed in my application is that my midlet doesn't really do all that much. It passes everything off to the canvas. But I'm not really sure how you would do unit testing. I actually feel kind of bad because I kind of use the test not at all methodology when I was coding tic-tac-toe because I waited till the last minute. And I'm a little ashamed of myself. But that's a really good question, and I wish I knew the answer. Actually, we can try it out. It just throws security exception. I don't think it's not the regular G2SC security manager. And there are security. Let me show you. Close to me a little bit. Please excuse the small resolution. Basically, with Eclipse Me, it adds a menu option here for J2ME. You tell it where your wireless toolkit's installed, and it pretty much handles everything else.
Okay.
It creates profiles for the different kinds of. There's 4 phones that Sun's emulator can do. There's a media control scan, a QWERTY device, a gray phone, and a color phone. And they all look kind of cool, but I can't show you them because it's,
with, and that you can't just start without a container, because the container does things for it. So,
I'm pretty sure I could try it, right?
but you could always just wrap up class to do all your work and test the class.
Yeah, my canvas actually does a ton of work, but it doesn't. I mean, as far as externally, all it does is handle the screen, and it does call one thing on the midlet. So I don't know if it really has a lot that you can test in it. I mean, it draws a bunch of lines, but you can't really assert that the X is green. It'd be hard to. I guess you
Is
could.
there a way to test against the emulators API?
I'm not sure. I know you can debug while the emulator's running with Eclipse Me, but I'm sure the emulator will fail when I run it from here, but I can try it still. Yep. Video.
Access violation.
Exception access violation?
And it's got a problematic frame, so.
Yeah. I could try to create a JUnit test real quick and see if it throws an error. Nope.
Does this run right now in Eclipse in a different VM? The JSON, like some A2ME VM?
Yes, it does run. It runs in the AMS that the emulator provides. So the application management software, which actually makes calls in the midlet. And I don't have JUnit because I may have added JUnit. No. Oh yeah, I did.
What isn't JUnit written in J2SC?
When I was playing with it, it worked.
Okay.
So could you build this outside of the emulator and with Ant or Maven or something, and then
You
at
could
the last step bundle it with your JAD?
Yeah, you could use Ant to call the wireless toolkit, just like the Eclipse plugin uses, or you could you can do it all manually, which I read a step-by-step for. It's kind of a respect the toolkit, because if you had to do it manually, it would suck. Because you have to call the pre-verification manually, you have to package it, and then you have to edit the JAD file after you've packaged the jar, because you don't know what the size is until after you package the jar.
You can't put it in manifest. That makes sense.
Yeah, that's why it's not the manifest. Let me talk about obfuscation a little bit, because I don't want to chase a red herring with that JUnit thing, unless I've got until I'm done. Obfuscation. Normally, you think about obfuscation as a way to prevent people from looking at your code by decompiling it, but obfuscation on J2ME serves a different purpose. It shrinks the size of your application by quite a bit. With my tic-tac-toe midlet, the regular jar was 10.7 kilobytes, and the obfuscated jar was 6.03 kilobytes, which when you're talking about a device that, at most has a couple hundred K or a meg of storage, 40% savings is pretty good. The J2ME toolkit is designed to work with ProGuard. I was reading about Eclipse Me, and you can use another obfuscator if you want, but it's really made to work with ProGuard. So I don't know if that's the industry standard for regular J2SE obfuscation or not. I haven't really explored. Has anyone had any? Go ahead.
I have a question. I don't have an answer. The obfuscator, the jar is already zipped. So I'm wondering what the obfuscator can do to save 40% of the compiled space.
I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know how obfuscation works, really.
Better compression than zip.
Well, I mean, the jar might not be zipped. It might just be archived, because there's different kinds of compression on a jar.
That symbols built in.
Does the toolkit come with ProGuard?
No. If you, I can show you if that K toolbar was working, but it's got an option called Create Obfuscated Package, and it fails, but the console says, go download ProGuard and put it in this folder, and it'll work.
Is it a free thing?
Yeah, it's an open source ProGuard is. Has anyone used obfuscation in regular J2SE? I'm just curious. See if ProGuard's comment or no.
Yeah.
ClipsMe, basically it's a plugin that does what K-Toolbar does, but it makes it a little bit more elegant and puts it in Eclipse. Basically, when you create a new package, once you have ClipsMe installed, you can say it's a mobile package instead of a Java package, and it'll use the J2ME libraries instead of the regular J2SE libraries. I wrote down that it requires the location of your wireless toolkit install and obfuscator. Did I spell obfuscator right?
No,
Maybe.
you obfuscated.
And of course, obfuscation is optional, but since you just have to have a jar, it's kind of foolish not to do it. It also lets you debug your midlet, which I can show you if the emulator was not broken. Kind of bummed out about that. I've got some links. I will give Brian and put them up on the wiki. Sun's APIs, of course, they're sometimes good and sometimes not so good, but they really helped me a lot when I was working on my app. I use the set of tutorials from today.java.net that talk about the low-level stuff, and they talk about the canvas stuff, and then they go beyond what I talked about today, and they talk about the new game canvas, which is, well, I say new, but it's been around for a couple of years, but it's new to MIDP 2.0. EclipseMe is eclipseme.org, and ProGuard is ProGuard.sourceforge.net. And I've got any questions? I can play around with JUnit. Hey, what's up?
Can you detect what device you're running on?
Yes, you can, and I've seen two sides of the argument on using the detection of the device to actually create a whitelist for your application. I mean, if you know your application works on XYZ phone but not this phone, you can make your application not even install. I didn't actually look at techniques that they use to do that, but it seems to be pretty easy to create a whitelist for only these phones can work on the app. I didn't actually play around with that. I could look and see if it's in the documentation.
Does that go into the JET? Or
I'm not sure.
does it have to install and then check?
That would be pretty lame if it had to install and check. But I think that's what it does, because it can't detect what it's running on, because the phone controls, unless I'm just guessing. I have to do a little more research. Anyone else have any questions? Hey, what's up?
It's multi-thread.
Multi-thread, yes, you can, and it is recommended for real-time games where they're constantly updating, and it works a lot like you would normally. You can just create a new thread, you can implement runnable. That stuff's all there.
Yeah, can you keep the thread running when your app is paused? Like if you're downloading something.
That's a really good question. I don't know the answer. But if I were to make a guess, you can pause your thread if you want to by the because the phone tells you with the pause app that you're about to be paused, and you can either pause or not pause your thread. Now, whether or not it pauses it for you if you don't pause it, I don't know. And it's probably up to the application management software, so it's probably not a guarantee one way or another. But I bet that's in the documentation for thread, actually.
So thread is part of MIDP, not CLDC.
I'm not sure.
Because that was one of my next questions, was really what's the difference between the two?
The MIDP runs on top of CLDC, and I don't know if CLDC is just because I don't know if you can really create a console application on a phone, because it's not displayed on the phone unless it's a midlet. So I don't know how low level.
So if I was going to make like a little ARM machine that that's not a phone, I wanted to run, maybe I could possibly just support CLDC and not have all this screen stuff. And just
Perhaps.
a little, like a laser pointer.
It doesn't talk about it at all. see if CLDC. And see, CLDC documentation is not even on there. Can't select like that. It's so small. Here's CLDC 1.0. It does have thread.
So wait, we had thread and CLDC had thread.
Yeah, they do. You may not, if you use MIDP, you may not even need to include CLDC.
Oh, it might be a superset.
Maybe this is the standard thread stuff. It doesn't talk about mobile threads. Well, I'm sorry, I don't have an answer for you.
Sure.
Any other questions? I'm pretty much done. Yo.
How about, are there any options to have midlet to midlet communication?
Yes, within a midlet suite, you can use record stores to pass information, but you can't talk outside of your midlet suite.
So you have to persist it and have something pick it back up.
Yeah.
It looked like you had a directory there for J2ME RPC.
I don't know what that is. Maybe, and it may be for client server stuff.
Jack's RPC. Wow.
Sweet. Okay, so I have a second question.
Yes.
How about, are there standard mechanisms to try to access common resources from your phone, like look up my contact list, or I mean, is there a standard around those things?
I don't believe that there is. There's a API for Bluetooth communication. There's an API for MMS, like text messaging, but I don't believe that there's a way to access your contact list. Unless it's vendor specific. Now, the Sun APIs probably don't let you do that, but I bet there's a Nokia API that'll let you do that. And I didn't play around with that, but Nokia, Motorola, Samsung, all the main companies have APIs that you can download for their phones. So probably yes, but not with just Sun's classes.
And you know, in the Sun's classes, does it give you the controls to? Does it have some system level utilities where you can like control the radio frequencies of the phone? But there was an article in Dr. Dobbs like a month or two ago where someone put an example of how to turn your cell phone into a radio with a midlet.
Whoa!
And I haven't looked any further into it. I just thought it was an interesting concept that you could actually control the tuner.
If I had to guess, I would say not with Sun's APIs.
Okay.
That doesn't sound like something that they would do. You can like make your display blink, or you can make it vibrate, I think. But then again, it's still up to the application management software to either support that or not. Yeah, I kind of wish I had looked into that because it sounds really cool.
Yeah.
If there's no more questions, I guess I'm done. Wandering through this hour of J2. Yes?
We're curious, is ME used for like smart cards? Do you deal with that at all? Or
It is. I didn't research much about the phone stuff, but they do say that it runs on embedded devices. Now, I'm not sure if it's possible that it could run on a smart card, yeah. But I don't know if there are any companies that do that. I mean, I know that in general applications, Java's got a little bit of performance that over like C. So in a really, really small application, you might not want
Want to try to get the emulator going?
I don't know if they've got it for Mac.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not all Java.
Well, the emulator.
The emulator's an EXE, so it's definitely platform specific.
Well, you've got parallels.
I got boot camp. You can run boot camp. But I'm not sure. I'll probably have the same resolution errors he had.
No, I think my resolution errors are because I'm using this. I convert from DVI to VGA because my video card's only got DVI, and I think it doesn't like going higher than that. Like, it doesn't to me. You can't even detect what kind of monitor it is.
And it dropped the refresh rate too.
that hurts. Say that. Yeah, when I try it, I can try 800 by 600, see if it likes that. But when I tried 1024 by 768, it failed.
Yeah, that worked
gloriously.
Well, it might work at 8. Well, it might not work at 8.
Nope. Presentation's over.
That'll come
That's all,
back.
folks.
It didn't come back last time. Like, we waited the 15 seconds and it didn't come back.
Special.
Yep. Thanks a lot, guys. Yeah, I'll have some links up, and I'll give Brian put some links up in my presentation, and you guys can try out my tic-tac-toe app if you can get the emulator to run on your PC.
We're early. I'm going to try.
So hopefully we'll see most of you or all of you in January.
I don't know. On the 28th, the steering committee.
Yeah.
What?
Everybody come to the steering committee meeting.
Could you?
Are you going to get anything else?
Talk about.
Yeah.
You